The other thing I got out of the book at the library was it shows the angle of attack versus how much lift in the case of the airplane it's going to make, and where it stalls and all of that monkey business.
Right.
So we always had it at an angle where it was efficiently being.
Everybody else just bolted them on.
Yeah.
No, and some people would have them on a 45.
Yeah, right.
Well, and then there was the ones that somebody made that were the rear was on a spring, and as you went faster,
Al
it
Barnes
went
made that
lower.
for the Willie Borch's car.
Yeah, but Jess Sturgeon had one on the front of his drag.
Well,
strip.
that one is
That
actually,
was on the Don Long car.
yeah,
Yes.
the Don Long car. That
And
actually,
what it was the two rods coming up. One was on the axle and one was on the car.
right.
And when you launched, the wing had a higher angle of attack than when
As
you
the axle
headed,
drew,
as you headed down the racetrack, and it settled
car
back
settled.
down. Then the wing came down.
Right.
Okay.
Which is very clever.
Yes.
Very clever work that those guys were doing.
The first few runs that you used it, what did Mike say as far as the performance of the car, the handling?
I don't remember. I think he was probably just glad that he had something cool. On
He
the
just
front.
thought it was cool. Yeah.
That's great.
Because we didn't have much trouble keeping. We always had lots of weight on the front.
Yeah.
Most people would take weight off and mess around and put the thing in the sky, do a wheel stand. We saw that was a false economy, so we always had too much weight. So there's only one picture that I know of with a wheel stand.
Carlsbad.
Carlsbad.
Yeah.
The one that was in Sports Illustrated, I
Yeah.
think.
Mhm.
That's one of the very few wheel stands the car ever did. But it's just because we had too much lead, and because we had Mike Sorokin that knew what he was doing.
Right.
So noted to look cool.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool's important.
Yeah. It's important.
Yeah.
Scientific.
So what's up?
Well, we've moved on back to Long Beach. It was 9,000 people at Long Beach that night for some reason. It was 5,000 normally.
They had great crowds down there. And they would always promote match races and make a big fuss out
Yeah,
of whatever.
Happy was
going
great
on.
for that.
Ralph Goodall, he was the best.
Yeah, he wrote that
Because
article.
at that time, he was in charge of all of that, right, Don? I mean,
He and CJ would sit down on Monday morning and decide what to do. After he finished writing the story and got it to Doris, then they would start talking about what ad they were going to run, what they were going to promote. Usually CJ had a pretty good idea of what he was going to go with, a match race or stuff like that.
Here you went to San Fernando, but you were supposed to meet Adams and Stewart in the last round, but the fans missed a real good race when Sorokin and crew uncovered a multitude of mechanical problems.
Uh-oh.
A multitude.
That's
Now we don't know what that means, but it's not good.
it's not good.
It's not
A
good.
multitude is not good.
And here's another picture, so you can get some idea of maybe what happened, what went on, if you remember.
No, we're still on the original frame, original length.
Is that
Still
that?
look-
That's
no,
that
we
Lincoln, isn't it? On the far side.
Yeah,
Yes,
the 500-inch
Yep.
President Lincoln.
We've still got our wood wing and it's short.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's President Earl Canavan, Mr. President Lincoln.
Right,
His
President
car was called.
And I always thought it was 555 inches, but they say it's 500 in there, but I was always told it was 555-inch Lincoln. That's a big Lincoln in
Yeah.
1964.
Started out at 430.
430. That's got to be one of those where you grind the block till you grind all the way through the side for the crankshaft. Had the big dimples in the pan, the crank to clear.
Oh yeah.
555-inch Chrysler
Wow.
or Ford.
And this is the tail end of the unusual engines. The
Yeah.
Oldsmobiles are just now starting to fall by the wayside. Porter and Reese,
Safford.
Safford, Gady, and Radican, or no, Safford, Gady, probably.
Safford and Gady, yeah.
Safford.
Our sisters.
Everybody's finally giving up on the oddball engines. There were some Packards.
Chevys are still there.
There were some Cadillacs.
They're going
Chevys.
fast.
Yeah.
No, the Chevys were doing fine, but I meant the big, unusual motors.
Yeah.
Packard, Cadillac, Oldsmobile,
Lincoln.
Lincoln,
Yeah.
most of the Ford stuff. There was always somebody trying something, and they finally all just gave up. And like, say, Porter and Reese, they both ended up with Chryslers independently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Safford had a
Safford had a Chrysler and put
Oldsmobile on the valve cover. I got a
Yeah.
picture of that. We'll put that up. Don't worry.
Oldsmobile and the valve covers so that everybody thought he still had an Oldsmobile. People go, is that an Oldsmobile Hemi? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Tony
Yeah,
Nancy
392.
was running those, what was it, Chrysler Wedge? Or,
Which
Yeah.
and Oldsmobile, brand Oldsmobile. for a
Yeah.
while.
that's right, Oldsmobile. He finally gave up with
Yeah.
Chrysler. Anyway, it was about the end of that era. And it was really good because somebody else had to go figure that out with their money. And it was, by the time we built our dragster, it was very clear you didn't want anything but a Chrysler. But there were others that were still, Earl Canavan, I'm sure, had been racing a long time before we started racing our car. So he races for another 6 months or a year with the, but he couldn't race very often because he couldn't keep it alive. I think died pretty quickly.
And I don't even remember.
Iskandarian spent a lot of money with him on that car.
I don't even remember Earl Canavan with a Chrysler. I mean,
No, he went from
the
drag
name
racing.
dropped away.
He
when
went to NASCAR.
Okay,
He
because
went-
I remember the Lincoln, the big Lincoln, all
Yeah.
that stuff. And then when it disappeared, so did his name. He never wasn't Canavan and Smith or somebody. The Chrysler just didn't exist anymore. So
Right,
he was done. He didn't move on.
Yep.
So you're probably getting tired of Lions at this time, Wilmington. And we're talking about Ralph Gouldahl, his riding. Woody Gilmore, Cannon versus the Charger Mad Trace would be a duel in the dew.
Duel in the dew.
Yep.
Beautiful.
So that's Gouldahl again.
Yep.
And you couldn't. This one said you raced Mike Snively in the 400 Junior, but the car wouldn't stay lit. The damp, cool air presented many such problems tonight. Job mentioned pretty cold, and we'd be sitting for about 3 hours with a big can. You just couldn't keep it lit. There
That
it
was
is right there.
around the time when somebody figured out you take the fuel line off of the fuel injector and fill it up full of gasoline or whatever you like, and then put it back on. So that first gulp,
Mhm.
and I think this is right around when that got invented by somebody, and of course we were on it.
You were on it right then. Well, I have a picture somewhere of a guy that shows the radiator hose running off the car to the push car, and then a radiator hose coming back. And so while they're sitting waiting, they're running the engine in the car, running warm water through the block. And I thought, what a great idea.
Wow.
And then they just closed the petcocks and pulled it off, and the thing was ready to fire, and it could be as cold and damp. But Long Beach had that problem a lot until guys figured it out. push down there and they'd never start. A lot of races ended when they wouldn't start.
Yeah,
They wouldn't start because it was cold and
and it just
damp and it just too long
it
a
just
time.
got worse.
Yeah.
And by this time, we're probably up at 85 or 90%.
Right, and that's what he says when you run the can.
Yep.
I love that. So you
We
go
were there
back.
this night, apparently. We were participating at that point.
See, somebody else was there too.
Madden and Prieto.
Oh.
Boy, Long Beach was deadly. When you went there were so many hitters. Oh my God!
Oh,
To win one of those deals, well, the combination of the slimy track, no matter what Ralph called it.
doing the do.
In the evening, the dew would, when the temperature dropped, and there's all these refineries around, so there's oil mist in the air. And when the dew came down, it brought the oil with it, and there's just this slime on everything.
And
then
you
you're gonna
could
go
set
down
your
there.
clock. You could set your watch 9 o'clock. The wind stopped, and when the wind stopped, then the dew came, and the fog would roll in. I mean, you could almost go 9 o'clock. Yep, it was amazing how that worked. And then and I don't know if you remember, there were a lot of races where the guys went off down through there, and nobody knew what happened except the little glow of the light of who won because it was so foggy you couldn't see, and they ran anyway.
Right.
Ooh, scary.
Yeah. Very.
So you've gone back to San Diego. That's still a nice long tow of 1964, but we're moving on toward the end. But nobody's running very good. You have low ET at 804 after running a 784 previously, but even the local guys down there, Linco, Abbott, and Ahab Goldsting ran 814. So nobody was having it. So here's something. First time it mentioned you broke. That doesn't mean you hadn't broken previously, but
No, it didn't.
it says next out were Skinner and Job with Mike Sorokin at the wheel and Brenner Brown's Desert Rat. Sparks were flying out of the server's exhaust stacks, signaling the end of an engine as one of the rods made an exit out the side.
Oh, this is getting expensive.
Now we're starting to hurt it.
Oh, my wallet. Our collective wallet is in big trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, Skinner's going, oh, I gotta go dig up some more money.
Yeah.
So,
And at some point, you made that run to go get those two Chryslers and stick it in the what was it, the Citron or whatever car it
God,
was.
that's a wonderful
And that's a
story.
great story as to when that happened. Though that's the part I don't know.
Have we talked about that?
Not yet. No, I don't
That
think
needs
so.
that needs to be on camera. at
No,
some
definitely. Wherever that should be inserted, I'm not sure when, but
Well, we've had enough boring.
Yeah.
Sure.